Well, ahead of this week's Summit for Democracy, organized by the United States, the Chinese Institute has issued a report criticizing democracy in the U.S. Wang Haiyang has all the details.
10 questions are put forward to challenge American-style democracy in a report released on Monday by the Chongyang Institute for Financial Studies, Renmin University of China. The first question is whether U.S. democracy is for the majority. The report says there has been a gradual transformation of American political behavior in recent years. The result is frequent situations in which a few people seize power and decide election results. Such a transformation is contrary to the word democracy, which the report says means that people are the masters of the country. The report says at present, the U.S. is experiencing threats to its system of checks and balances, and it doubts whether the current democracy can improve Americans' well-being with a widening gap between the rich and poor. With gun violence, the pandemic, and hate crimes, the report also raises question of whether or not U.S. democracy can secure freedom or human rights. The report claims the current American-style democracy leads to division of people and system failure, such as the infighting between the two main political parties. According to the report, American democracy are also creating turmoil abroad. It failed to bring peace and development in Afghanistan, Yemen, and Iraq. With military interventions, the U.S. has been undermining international order in the name of democracy. The Chongyang Institute hopes the report could help the U.S. reflect on the defects on its own system and help the world fully understand democracy and promote shared values for all humankind. Wang Haiyang, CGTN.
Meanwhile, at the International Forum on Democracy in Beijing, Syria's ambassador to China and a former ambassador to the U.S. says Washington is in no position to declare what political system is democratic.
The United States engaged itself in a series of expansionist wars against its neighbors that led to the illegal occupation and annexation of Florida, Texas, and California. This was followed by a very long list of wars against a very large number of nations, an average of one war launched by the United States of America in every 2 to 3 years. With every war, the ruling military industrialist oligarchs enjoyed phenomenal growth of their wealth and influence, while young Americans, mostly underprivileged and poor, would sacrifice their lives in the sinister cycle of killing and getting killed. All in the name of the universal values of freedom, democracy, and human rights.
One analyst says the U.S. is no longer a democracy, but a country controlled by and working for the privileged few.
In recent times, clearly, the United States is not functioning as a democracy. It is functioning as a plutocracy. A democracy is a government of the people, by the people, for the people. A plutocracy is a government of the 1%, by the 1%, for the 1%.
In 2010, the U.S. Supreme Court eliminated limits on political spending by outside groups such as corporations and labor unions, calling it a protected form of free speech that encouraged more participation in the political process. But critics say the move gave the wealthy more power and influence over politics. All right, well, let's talk about this with our current affairs commentator, EINAR, who joins us in the studio here in Beijing. So, EINAR, it's good to have you with us on the show here. An interesting topic. Let's talk about the Summit for Democracy the United States is hosting later this week. Why is President Biden moving forward with this?
Well, President Trump wanted to do it alone. He thought he could literally, friend to foe alike, use tariffs, economic pressure, also military moves, talking about security, to do it by himself. President Biden believes that he needs the rest of the world to join with him in a kind of what I would see as, well, what I think Beijing sees as a cynical effort to isolate China politically.
Why is China so angry over this summit?
Well, it's just, it's facts over fiction. If you start looking at the last 40 years, China has been consistently delivering for its people. There's a reason that over, 97% of the Chinese people believe that the national government is doing the work for them. The fiction is that, as you've heard earlier, there's been a tremendous amount of wars. There are all sorts of refugees out there. Very, very difficult for the U.S. to sell this, that they represent the best of what system that humanity has. Really, what both sides, everyone needs to realize is that there are different paths to prosperity.
Let's talk about the U.S. society and the fact that it has become, it seems, so polarized to so many people. Do you agree with that? Do you think the U.S. is polarized more than it has in the past?
Well, it's gone through different periods. This is not unique. There have been other times in the U.S. history where it's been very polarized. We obviously fought a civil war. So there, of course, it really did come to arms. But you start looking at the statistics. I mean, young people believe, 35% of young people believe that there will be an armed insurrection within the United States. This is really, really tough. So we are going through a very, very low point. And part of it is this, as I go back, facts and fiction. The U.S. over the last 40 years has not been able to deliver for the middle class. They have not been able to address the needs, and we are more polarized. There's concerns about white Americans believe that they're being displaced. Minorities believe that they're being victimized. There are one-issue politics all over the place, so it's becoming much more difficult to heal this. The kind of leadership and results that are needed in the United States have not been delivered by the current system.
Okay, EINAR TANGEN, good to have you with us. Thanks so much for your thoughts.